Good morning, lecturer. I will present the background and discussion of our group chosen issue, income redistribution and poverty in Malaysia. Malaysia is a rapidly developing country, but unfortunately, the growth has not benefited everyone equally. Even though we are reduced absolute poverty over the decade, we still face seriously challenges with related poverty and income inequality, especially among rural poverty and the B14 income group. The Malaysian government began addressing income inequality in 1970 with the new economic policy. It's aimed to addressing policy and restructuring social to ensure fairness participation in the economy, especially for the booming rural community, while the NEP success in lowering poverty from around 15% in 1970 to 15% by 1990. It also create long-term issue like depending on subsidy and unequality resources distribution. Fast forward to recently year, the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted how vulnerable many Malaysians still are. The national poverty rate increased from 5.6% in 2019 to 8.4% in 2020, and although it's improved slightly, it shows how short can easily push households back into poverty. We also see region disparable. For example, Kedah poverty rate was 19.7% in 2020, more than triple the national average. This reflects poor infrastructure and limited job opportunity in rural areas. In urban area, people suffer from rising living costs and heritage signature. This median monthly income in 2022 was just 2,250, which is not enough for a decade life in places like Kuala Lumpur or Johor Bahru. To solve those issues, the government introduced several intentions like cash assistance, such as STR and Bantuan Keluarga Malaysia, fuels and food subsidy, and long-term framework like Share Prosperity Vision 2030. However, many of those solutions focus on short-term reliable and do not address the root cause, like poor access to quality education, lack of skilled job, and weak labor right. They are also concentrate about inefficiently targeting where aid do not always reach the people will need it most. In conclusion, while Malaysia has made progression, much more is needed to create a fair, more inclusive economy. Structural reformation must go hand in hand with financial aid to encourage long-term change. Thank you.
Now I would like to discuss about the theories related to the issues. Many the B40 groups struggle with even meeting their most basic everyday needs. Those responsible have noticed that the problems and have put this policy in place to handle it. So I would like to discuss the paper will explore the effects of higher living of cost on B40's income groups in Malaysia and relate those issues to poverty definitions, social welfare functions, and expenditure incident, and describes in chapter 7 of the public finance cost. Cash subsidies is provide the recipient with money to spend as they choose, which allow greater flexibility and utility maximizations. For the B40 groups, cash transfers can be particularly beneficial as they can be used to purchase a variety of goods and services based on individual needs, especially when prices of essential goods increase. In-kind transfers, such as food subsidies or housing assistance, provide essential goods and services to the poor, while this can address immediate needs such as food and shelter. They do not offer the same flexibility as cash transfer. However, in-kind transfers can be useful in ensuring that the subsidies are spent on essential items, especially during the periods of inflation. The second theory which related is Pareto improvement. Pareto improvement refers to a situation where a policy change leads to an improvement for some individuals without making others worse off. In the case of the B40 groups, redistributions of income can potentially lead to Pareto improvements, particularly when wealthy individuals G20s have a sense of altruism and are willing to accept a reduction in their own utility to help the poor. However, according to the traditional social welfare functions, additive and investments, Pareto improvement is not always guaranteed, because some groups may lose utility when income is distributed. The third this function is believed that social welfare is made up of all the individual utilities in society. The purpose of income redistributions in the theories feels to make society better off by lifting the living standards of people with the minimum incomes. According to utilitarian perspective, each additional dollar you earn give you a smaller increase in the happiness as income grows. The contribution to well-being made by subsidy is greater for the B40 groups than it is for the richer M40 groups. Since the B40 groups feels that the effect of extra money more than the M40 group does, we can see that every dollar taken from Peter B14s and give to PALs T220, and this will increase the PAL welfare and decrease Peter's welfare. This situation is the same as the titles that we discussed now, which is the PAL is richer than Peter, and the loss of which is Peter, is just smaller than the benefit to PAL. Thus, the sum of utilities will increase. By redistributing every dollar to PALs will increase PAL utility, which is the same as B40. Only at I primes is the distributions will attain perfect quality.
Now, I would like to share how India is dealing with poverty and income inequality and how it compares to Malaysia. India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. However, many people in India still live in poverty. One major challenge is the rising cost of living. In 2023, India's inflation rate was 6.83, which is higher than the target set by the Reserve Bank of India. This means people are paying more money for basic goods and services. For the food price, especially rice, out by more than 10%, making it harder for poor families to buy enough food. At the same time, fuel prices are increased. This causes transportation costs to go out, and as a result, other goods like vegetables also become more and more expensive. Because of this, many low-income families are spending most of their income just on food only. They have very little left for education, healthcare, or rent. To reduce poverty, India has launched several government programs. The Engineer-led program provides 100 days of paid work to rural people. But the wages are too low and they do not keep up with inflation. India also gives subsidy through the public distribution system, which provides cheap food to poor families. However, when market prices go up, the real value of this subsidy goes down. The direct benefit transfer system is another method. It sends cash directly into the people's bank account. This reduces corruption and makes sure the money reaches the right people. But again, the amount is often too small to cover the real cost of living. Another challenge is India's tax system. Even though it is progressive, but 85% of workers are in the informal sector and do not pay income tax. Meanwhile, the GST, a good and service tax, is paid by everyone equally. This puts more pressure on the poor. Now, let's compare India with Malaysia. Both countries use cash transfer programs like India use DBT and Malaysia use Bantuan Salah Hidup. However, Malaysia programs are more targeted and better managed because we have a smaller population and better data system. In Malaysia, most poor people live in urban areas where access to school, hospital, and transport is better. But in India, many poor people live in rural villages where jobs and public service are harder to get. That's why India focuses more on rural work programs like Engineer-led. One key lesson from India is government support must keep up with inflation. If price rise but the aid stays the same, family will still struggle. To reduce poverty effectively, we need to mix the method like combining the job creation, direct cash help, and subsidy, and make sure this support are out there regularly.
Okay, so now let's take a closer look at the situation in the Central African Republic, or we call it as CAR. So first is, we know that it is one of the poorest nations in the world, which ranks 5th in global poverty, with nearly 70% of the population living on less than $2.5 per day. And even though CAR has gold, diamonds, and uranium, its progress is constantly blocked by conflict and political instability. And even a small disruption, whether from conflict or flooding, can cause the prices of essential items like salt, sugar, and onions to spike up to 240% overnight. And next, the economy has been in steady decline. The GDP per capita is now lower than it was in the 1960s, mainly because of the ongoing conflict since independence. And the country's economy also has worsened in 2023 due to the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic and rising global prices, and which causes inflation to accelerate. And lastly, CAR is also going through a current crisis, which is the fuel shortages and rising food prices that has made worse by the Ukraine war. And therefore, the rising cost of living have made even basic necessities affordable for many families. Okay, so now moving on to the next part is the government and challenges in CAR. So first is the RCPCA. It is a national plan that focuses on promoting peace, rebuilding trust between the government and citizens, and supporting economic recovery. However, this plan faces a major challenge in which armed groups and ongoing violence, especially in rural areas, limit the government's presence and ability to implement the plan. And next is the social safety net that project provides financial aid to poor households. But the challenge here is that the project has limited coverage, depends heavily on foreign funding, and still fails to reach many vulnerable families. And lastly, the DDR program, which is meant to reintegrate ex-combatants into civilian life, but unfortunately, due to limited job opportunities, many former combatants end up returning to the armed groups. And okay, following that is the tax system. The CAR's government collects around 4% less due to inefficiency and small tax base. So basically, the tax system is weak, and CAR also has a large informal economy, which makes up 47.6%, which operates completely outside the formal tax system. And the government also struggles with limited resources because of poor financial management and weak governance, and which further reduces the national revenue. So we understand that when public services are poor, people avoid paying taxes, and in turn, the government lacks funds to make improvements. Okay, so the final slide for me is the comparison with Malaysia. So first we can compare based on their poverty. In Malaysia, B40 group who struggles with the rising cost of living, while in CAR, about 70% of the population lives in extreme poverty. And second, in terms of resources, Malaysia has better systems, job opportunities, and governance. While in CAR, they are rich in natural resources, but suffers from poor leadership and instability. And next comparison is on the government aid. Malaysia provides direct helps like BSH and subsidies, whereas CAR depends on international support, especially through programs like RCPCA. But they also provide similar like the BSH, which is through the social safety net. Also, both countries face such issues. In Malaysia, aid often misses informal workers, and in CAR, it struggles to reach areas controlled by armed groups. And next, in terms of taxation, where both countries face the challenges due to informal sectors, but CAR's economy is nearly 50% informal, making it much harder to collect taxes. And finally, looking at the infrastructure, Malaysia has stronger public services, while CAR lacks proper roads, schools, and stable leadership to support its people.
My name is Chazia, matching number 29214. Now we are going to talk about our opinion on how we can help the B40 groups. First, we believe that community and NGO support is very important in reducing poverty. Unlike large government programs, NGO and community groups often understand what local people really need. For example, we've seen the food bank runs by community that help families who don't have enough to eat. Pay what you can cafe are another great ideas. People only pay what they can afford, which reduce shame and financial pressure. The community training centers are also very helpful. A friend of ours joined a sewing class and now earns income by doing alteration at home. This kind of skill building improves not just income but also self-confidence. Lastly, cooperative allow B40 families to share resources and start small business together, which can build long-term independence. Second, we believe that technology can also play a big role in reducing poverty. One good idea would be to create an official website just for B40 families. It could share the latest government aid, discounts, and price comparison so that people don't need to waste time and money. Besides that, we also seen how the platforms like Shopee, TikTok Shop, and Grab can create jobs. One mother we know sells cookies on Facebook and use the money to pay school fees. But not everyone knows how to use these tools. That's why we need simple apps and digital skill training. If people learn how to avoid scams, use e-wallet, or sell online, they can earn more without needing a physical shop. Next, financial education is also the key. Many B40 families don't know how to manage their money. When something unexpected happens, that they have no saving. Sometimes people buy things they don't really need, like a new phone, just to keep up with others. It's not their fault. It is a lack of education and too much social pressure. According to financial advisor Brian Zhang, over 31,000 Malaysian youth under 35 have gone bankrupt, mostly because they don't know how to budget or save. He says, buy now, pay later schemes and credit cards create a false sense of financial freedom. That's why we believe schools should teach financial literacy from middle school. The topic should include like budgeting, saving, avoiding debt, and even simple investing. Furthermore, transportation is a daily challenge for low-income families. Many B40 families live far from the city to save on rent, but this means they spend hours commuting. Public transport is often unreliable. If they miss the bus, they are late for work, and if this happens too often, they may lose their job. One real case is a mother from Kepong who had to carry her disabled son and walk 25 minutes to reach the nearest bus stop. This is not okay, especially it's in a city. A good public transport doesn't just save money, it saves time, reduce stress, and allow people to work, study, or even spend time with their children. If transport in suburbs improve, people don't have to move to city, and this helps reduce poverty too. Lastly, single mothers in the B40 group face double pressure because they must take care of children and also earn money for the family. Many cannot afford childcare and cannot work full-time. A study in Selangor found that 26% of single mothers live below the poverty line, much higher than average. What they need is not just money, but they need job opportunities. The government can help by offering small loans for home-based business like baking or sewing. They also need to learn how to sell product online. We know a mother who sells baby beads and use the income to buy grocery. Flexible online jobs like data entry or tutoring are also helpful. When mothers can earn money and stay with their kids, their children can grow up with more security and hope.